Today's episode is brought to you by Brock Osweiler's bank account.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
Free agent frenzy!
That was impressive.
Thank you. It is the NFL New Year. 2016 NFL season is officially started.
This is the time of year in which no matter when you record your show, you will always feel like you are behind on the news.
Yes.
And regrettably, on Tuesday, I think some people tuned in to hear Demarco Murray conversation. And
what a jerk, Demarco.
Yeah, why didn't you schedule with when we're recording podcasts? But welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. We do have tons of commentary on all the free agent signings that we're bringing you live today. And there have been a lot. And it has been overall very good for fantasy football, I think.
It sure has.
So we will get into all of the free agent signings today. We'll do some mailbag as well. You can find us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com. You can submit questions to us on the website. Click the Submit a Question button, and we will answer some of those on the show. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can follow Jason at JasonFFL. You can follow Mike at FF Hitman. You can follow me at Andy Holloway. And let me just say, Jason's been dropping a lot of Twitter tweets.
You blowing it up?
Twitter tweets. Yes, those are the kinds. Yeah, I'm keeping on with it because this week has just been incredible. I mean, the news flowing out has been like, I believe I said I felt like a crack addict because I did. I was like, it was 1 a.m. and I couldn't go to sleep because I had to keep pulling my thumb down on my phone just to see more. There's got to be something else. Now,
do you want to give the official recommendation for the Apple Watch in the shower?
I highly recommend it. I will say this: when Peyton Manning,
he now wears it into the shower, even though it is not rated for water.
Well, it's water resistant.
Yeah, it's just fine in the shower. The Apple Watch told me while I was in the shower that Peyton Manning was set to retire, and it was like I'll always remember that moment because
Peyton in the shower.
I have breaking news from next week. Jason's Apple Watch broken.
Jason has a Mickey Mouse watch now. All right, so let's start with a quick question, and nothing more appropriate than what is your favorite free agent signing thus far? By the way, we did kind of call the Chris Ivory signing on the air. And what was the other one? Fleener. You called Fleener. So
yeah. Well, then I'll pick it up then.
Yeah, you go.
Because one of my favorite signings was Coby Fleener. I think my favorite was Lamar to Houston, but that's a selfish reason. Our league of record, I've got Lamar as a keeper. I think it upgrades his free agent fantasy value, but. For me, Coby Fleener, the reason I like it so much is because I am usually a very late tight end drafter. And now with him there, and I started looking because as soon as he signed, I said, wow, he's going to be on a lot of my teams on Twitter. And people's reaction was, oh, he's going to go too high now. And then I took a look at the rankings and all the tight ends that are there. And no, he's not. I mean, there are at least 10. He's not going higher than 10th. I don't think. He's going to be the 11th tight end, 12th, and total, there's like 16 tight ends I like. So I am fine this year getting my tight end so late. But that late, I think Coby Fleener, who showed 2 years ago with a healthy Andrew Luck, that he can be a top fantasy option, and that was when he was splitting reps. Now he goes to the New Orleans Saints, who obviously were great with Jimmy Graham. And then Ben Watson, when he finally stepped up and went into that role, was fantasy relevant. And now Coby Fleener comes in, Ben Watson leaves. I think he's going to have a around a 5-6 rank at the end of next year, and I think you're going to draft him as the 12th tight end. So I really like that signing.
I wish I had some footage, maybe a time-lapse or something, of a Josh Hill dynasty owner from yesterday of the Watson goes to the Ravens, just and then just hours later, crushed, sold.
Welcome
crushed.
to free agency.
I hope you sold in that minute window you had.
So
my
oh,
favorite
you're gonna go ahead?
I'll go with my favorite move is a non-move. That didn't happen. That there was rumors floating out there that a free agent running back was getting interest from Green Bay, and it was Matt Forte, and I was disgusted and infuriated when I heard this news, and I pleaded and I begged I called Matt Forte's agent, actually. So you're welcome, Eddie Lacy owners. So Matt Forte, as we'll talk about a little bit later, did not go to the Packers, and that makes me very happy for Eddie Lacy and Matt Forte as well moving forward.
All right, my favorite signings were the moves made by the offense for Tennessee, with Rishard Matthews and DeMarco Murray landing in Tennessee. I have been very high on Marcus Mariota, and this only affirms my thoughts about him. I think Matthews is the perfect complement piece with what they have there with Kendall Wright, with Green Beckham, with Douglas.
D-Walk.
This is not good for David Cobb, but look, you've got
Good.
You've got a good an offense that has the ability to move forward in a lot of ways. They said they're going to use Mariota and his legs. Now he's got somebody to dump the ball to. Very capable in the passing game is Murray, even if he's not a 500 touch type of guy anymore. But I like the move for Mariota's prospects. It's one of those things, and we'll get into this with Travis Benjamin and Phillip Rivers later as well. But just that there are certain moves that they're great just for that player, but then they're also very complimentary to the players around them. So that's my favorite move. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
So much free agency to get to. I am so excited for this show to talk about all of these differences.
So is Twitter, man.
Oh.
Yeah, we're excited to bring it.
Yeah, well, before we get to all of the free agent news in depth, we do want to take a second and thank our sponsor of today's show, Audible.com. If you like books or need to read books or want to read books and you don't have the time, Audible.com is awesome. All three of us here at the Fantasy Footballers have used it. They have over 180,000 titles to look for. Pretty much, if there's a book that you want to read, they have the ability to read it to you, which is great. You could do it at the gym. You could do it on the car ride. You could do it everywhere. Right now, while football's in the offseason, not as many podcasts to fill your ears. Perfect time to sign up for Audible.com. iPhones, iPads, Android, even Windows phones. It is everywhere. So here's what you do, and there's a free 30-day trial for our listeners. You go to audible.com/ballers, audible.com/ballers, and you can get a free 30-day trial membership, and you download your books. You can get really expensive books. I used to go up and look for like huge ones that were like $180, and I would just click that would be my credit, and you get it for your $15 that month. So go to audible.com/ballers. It supports the show. Sign up today and enjoy having books read to you at audible.com.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, have a couple.
I got to stretch, man.
Yeah, it's all right. We got a little quick. We got some quick news
Gotta
before we
warm
get
up.
into the signing, so you have time to stretch out, Mike. Jason and I are very sore today from the flag football game on Tuesday night.
I Snapchatted a few of that.
I know.
Well, and I was going to throw that out. I'm really working on increasing the level of snaps. So with the Snapchat, our username is the FF Ballers, just the same as our Twitter handle. So if you want to plug that in and follow our story,
I see Andy throwing touchdowns.
I try to do at least one or two a day, and sometimes there's more.
We had a very fun game, and now we're very sore. So, all right, quick news. Calvin Johnson has retired officially, 30 years old.
For now.
What?
Yeah,
Come on.
It's a joke. Relax.
Oh, okay.
Relax.
There's no way he's coming back.
No, he's gone. Goodbye. One of the best of all time, really.
Really, maybe the best athlete at wide receiver that has ever played the game.
Yeah, it's very, very
mean,
possible.
6'5", and he ran a 4.35, a sub 4.4.
That's preposterous.
At 6'5". Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous. He was a freak, and that term gets thrown around a lot, but he was.
Yeah, so he's gone, and so impact.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, speaking of freaks.
Oh, okay. Different type of freak?
Yeah.
Mike Wallace has been cut.
Goodbye.
Mike Wallace has been cut. We all saw the writing on the wall there. Some rumors the Ravens are looking at Mike Wallace. He will need to take less money.
Him going to the Ravens is interesting because if Joe Flacco can do anything,
he can throw the
it's
deep ball.
throw the ball really far.
And then the Patriots have missed out so far on Marvin Jones and Rishard Matthews. There are rumors now of Chris Hogan visiting.
Yes. And
Why can't they land a wide receiver to catch the ball from Tom Brady? Oh, yeah, that's
They
why.
don't pay.
Yeah, which is why they won't land Reuben Randall.
And Hogan could just be them trolling the Bills. But we'll find out. I mean, Hogan has had his moments.
Wasn't he tendered?
Yeah, well, he's a restricted free agent.
Yeah.
So if the Pats give him an offer sheet, the Bills will have 5 days to match.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk free agent signings. I'm going to start with Demarco Murray because that was the first piece of news that broke before kind of the actual signings could take place. He was traded to the Titans. But what was the actual trade?
The trade was, I believe, they swapped fourth-round picks with the Titans, which means they moved up a couple of spots in the fourth round, and that is what it took to get DeMarco Murray 2 years ago, rushing leader.
I'm going to start this conversation by saying it seems as though the Cowboys have once again showed prudence in not signing DeMarco Murray, allowing him to leave, even in the division. DeMarco joked about last year having been a year off because he only had 237 touches.
That guy hates Chip Kelly so much.
That just fell apart in Philly. But is DeMarco Murray what he was? Does he have the ability to be that? They will use him as a workhorse, and they don't have better options.
So that's what matters, right, is what is DeMarco Murray going to be as a Titan? That's what people want to know, and he's going to be a very good fantasy running back. I don't think he is going to average a huge yards per carry. I don't think the offense is prolific enough to make him be a top 5 running back. But to me, he will be what LaShawn McCoy was last year when he was playing, which was really serviceable. He's going to get the ball so much. I mean, that offense, they want to feed someone. They want to be a running game, and I don't doubt that he gets, over 250 carries next year. And any running back, I don't care who you are, if you get over 250 carries, you are valuable for fantasy football. And barring injury, he'll be a very solid plug-and-play type of option that is not going to be the type of guy that wins you weeks with monster, he broke it off and had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't see those type of games, but solid.
Yeah, I love him. I don't think I think the skill is still there. They misused him horrifically, trying to get him to go laterally in Philadelphia. That's not his game. His game is straight through the tackles, one cut, and just chunk. That's what he does. He chunks it away, and so I like him. He's probably a late second, early third round pick. It would be my guess right now.
The thing I like about it is the read option capabilities of Mariota with DeMarco. What I don't love about it is if DeMarco showed me anything last year is that he can't run from the shotgun. And they run a shotgun offense in Tennessee with Mariota. So if the read option balances that out, then we'll be in good shape. I think it helps Mariota a lot, like I alluded to earlier. And I'm going to think he's going to go higher than where you just said.
Completely
for sure.
agree.
He's DeMarco Murray, starting role, bell cow. There's no way he goes in the third round.
No. You high second then?
Yes.
I think some people will take him. I think some people will take him at the end of the first and the top of the,
I don't think there's a way he goes
top
in
of
the
the
first.
second.
Burn too many people. Too many people will hold a grudge.
Even though he switched teams.
Yeah.
We'll
The
find
cool
out.
thing
We're
is we get
grudge
to find
holders.
out.
We're grudge holders.
But he won't go in the third. No way.
We're also forgivers when we change teams. Trent Richardson. As soon as he got traded, everybody wanted him again.
No.
We love promise. It does happen. I mean, fantasy football is about promise and potential.
Yeah. The Houston Texans love them some potential as well.
Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about Lamar Miller. We discussed on the Tuesday show who we thought the kind of what was the question? Which one we're most excited about?
Yep.
And Lamar Miller is the guy that we think is probably the best running back in the
Free
class.
Lamar.
Well, he's been freed. He said he wanted at least 20 touches a game. He goes to a place where, honestly, it's very similar to Tennessee, where the guys behind him, this is what you want, by the way. Let me just say this. You want guys behind him that are locked in that are also not going to get carries. Jonathan Grimes, Chris Polk, or I guess Polk's probably gone,
Blue.
isn't he?
Alfred Blue.
All of the assortment behind the newly signed, newly paid Lamar Miller is complementary type of players. Same thing in Tennessee with David Cobb, Bishop Sankey.
He's gonna roll into the Arian Foster role.
Yep.
Now he is not talented as Arian Foster.
You're calling that the running back role?
Well, I'm saying.
What is the Arian Foster role
I'm
if
saying
he's the
his
running
workload.
back? 'Cause
No,
you
the
said that
workload.
yesterday.
The workload. I'm saying
Of a running back.
No.
Of
That's
a
ridiculous.
full-time running
That's
back.
ridiculous. What I'm saying is the exact workload that Arian Foster got, the percentage of carries, the use in the passing game. That is how Lamar Miller is going to be
It's
used.
probably a distant memory to people because Arian Foster's only been on the field half the time in 3 years.
Well, when he was on the field, he got a lot of usage and was excellent. I think Lamar Miller is going to be an RB1 this coming season.
Lamar Miller or Demarco Murray?
I would take Lamar Miller because I think he's more talented.
I would take Lamar Miller as well. I think the only time that Lamar Miller comes out the field is when he is parched and needs a sip of Gatorade, and then they'll say, okay, Blue, get out there and pretend to do something for 2 snaps, and then Lamar Miller will go back in.
So we'll see if he can handle the load for the first time in his career.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe his body can't take it, but I believe it can. He doesn't seem like he's not a small guy. He's not, 5'9". I think he's built to be able to withstand that this year.
Good news, he's still
He's
very
5'10".
That's fine, but he's thick enough, he's young enough, and you know what? There's not a lot of mileage as far as running back carries on his body because he's never gotten the workload. I think it's great. I love him. Where are you drafting him? Will you take him at the end of the first?
Yes. I probably will because of the value,
That's
especially
high.
in half and full point PPR leagues. He will catch a lot of passes.
I have a question for you guys because this has come up a lot, and I think people really want to know this. In a half-point PPR setting, who would you draft, Lamar Miller or Mark Ingram?
No, nobody wants to know this except for Jason. Jason has to face this decision in his own league.
Come up a lot when I've been thinking about it.
Well, I mean, now people want to know.
I would draft Mark Ingram. Or Lamar Miller.
Okay.
Man.
No, so last year Lamar Miller had 194 carries. He had 47 receptions. His yards per carry in his career has been about 4.5, 4.6. I expect that to go down in Houston with the volume. That's generally what you see unless your name is Jamal Charles. And even in his case, I think it went down a little bit. You have a lot of these guys where about the 200 carry mark, they're putting up big yard per carry numbers. But I'd expect that to go down a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, what's not to like about that situation? You've got a defense that is the team, right? The team is the defense, and you're going to put the offense in positions to have longer drives, be smart with the ball. This is a running back type of situation. I love the hype, but buyer beware. Don't overdraft him either. I'm not putting Lamar Miller up above any of the upper echelon guys that we're talking about. And to answer your question, genuinely, it's Mark Ingram because I know what he brings me.
Right. There's not all the question marks.
Sure.
In that offense. So it's Ingram for me,
Let me ask you this. The other side of the coin is he now leaves the Dolphins, right? So Lamar Miller is now not on the Dolphins. Therefore, the Dolphins have Ajayi, who they come out and have said they view him as a 3-down back. What's Ajayi in fantasy if they make no more moves?
Oh, man, if they make no more moves, I think he is an awesome option. We saw in relief that he was very capable in all 3 facets of the game. And, Adam Gase coming in, he's going to want to establish a running game. I don't expect them to –
C.J. Anderson's visiting Miami right now.
I was going to say, I don't expect them to stay status quo, though. I think they're going to draft a running back or sign, someone like a C.J. Anderson. So my excitement right now is just on hold for Jay Ajayi.
Sure. Any other thoughts on Ajayi, Mike?
I'm with you guys. There's just probably someone will be added. Hopefully, it's not somebody of as high of note as C.J. Anderson, because then you really muddy the waters of what they're going to do. If Ajayi is the clear guy, I think he can handle 3 downs, and I think that he will be a monster. And I think Adam Gase will have no problem running him out there for 3 downs.
Jay Ajayi if he is alone, or Langford if he's alone.
Oh man,
I would
similar situations.
Yeah, that's very very similar. I probably Ajayi at this point for me.
Do you believe in the offense with Gase more than you
Yeah.
believe in Gase leaving Langford?
Yeah, you can put it that way.
I would probably go Langford over Ajayi just because, kind of like what you said a minute ago, I've seen it before. He had a stretch where he was very valuable when Matt Forte was gone.
That's the hard part because you said that Ajayi has shown capability, but that's obviously
Very
tempered by his
small
limited
sample.
workload.
You realize they re-signed Jacquizz Rodgers
Yeah.
in Chicago.
Kadeem Carey. I actually like that for Langford because it says to me they're not drafting anyone else. I don't think they're going to go and get a running back even in the 6th because they're set now with 3 running backs. And
That's very valid.
Langford
valid
is
point.
clearly the number 1 there.
All right, Chris Ivory has signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh.
The money bags over there. Mike is unhappy. I think Yeldon owners are unhappy. And why wouldn't you be? I mean, Chris Ivory got paid more
Over
money than we expected.
$6 million a year.
He had a
Good
great
for
year
Chris.
last year.
Yeah.
And he runs in a different fashion than TJ Yeldon does. Yeldon had 4.1 a carry. He had a great rookie year. He also was banged up. And I know they don't want to rely on, they came out in the beginning of the offseason. They said, hey, Denard Robinson's not the guy. We need to bring somebody else in here. We didn't know if that meant, the compliment piece,
I think
the Alfred Morris on discount, or the TJ.
Or a $6 million man in Chris Ivory.
So, I mean, it's easy to look at Ivory and the way he struggled at the end of the year and say, well, what is he? What will his role be here? I mean, I don't think we expect him to go out and be what he was on the Jets from a fantasy perspective now that he's on Jacksonville. But he did have 247 carries. He had a 4.3 average last year, over 1,000 yards. He caught 30 passes by default with Bilal Powell being hurt. I think the passing down role is Yeldon's.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. I think that Ivory going to the Jags is gnarly for a lot of fantasy guys there. Yeldon is very, very impacted. Blake Bortles as well is very impacted. We've talked a little bit about the touchdown regression is coming for Blake Bortles.
Get ready.
I believe he accounted for about 97% of their touchdowns, right around there, which that's impossible to replicate. Now you get a guy like Chris Ivory who can actually bang it in. His name is not Toby Gerhart. Give him 3 carries from the 0, and he can't punch it in. Chris Ivory can do that. So everyone in that system for fantasy, like Allen Hurns. I think Allen Robinson still will get his. I don't know if 14 touchdowns is in the books when you got a guy like Ivory who is capable. Once you get inside the 5, you can actually run it. But it's Ivory's overall signing is great for the Jaguars as a football team, but for fantasy it kind of stinks.
Who would you take, Ivory or Yeldon?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It completely depends on the format of the league. If you're talking any kind of points for catching, I'm still going Yeldon. I'm not jumping completely off the Yeldon ship. Chris Ivory has a long and storied history of getting hurt, so I would rather have my chips on Yeldon, the younger guy who can do everything. Because if Yeldon goes down, I mean, maybe this is a bad thought process, but if Yeldon goes down, I don't think Ivory can do everything. But if Yeldon goes down, which is more probable, then Yeldon's stock will be tremendous.
You mean if Ivory goes down? You said if Yeldon goes down.
Yeah, you got it.
I feel like based on our discussions over the last couple of days, I'll probably be the highest on TJ Yeldon of this group. I understand they paid Ivory. They also had the most money available to them. There have been many examples of guys getting paid a lot of money but not necessarily having a humongous role. I do like Ivory. I agree. I'll go as far as to say this. With Blake Bortles, if he doesn't regress touchdown-wise, I'll just buy a Blake Bortles jersey and wear it, every week on the show because his number, it's unsustainable with what they're doing there. I saw Blake Bortles as one of the choices on our show after the show when we discussed 10-year starter. That was somebody's pick, Blake Bortles.
Yep. I saw that as well.
The hype is there, my friends, and I don't dislike that team. If you've heard me on the show before, I like me some Gus Bradley. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And this is a great signing.
Jaguars.
Yeah.
Not Wires. I
You
got to
love them
remember
so
that.
much you can't.
I can't pronounce
the
their
team
name because if you're not local, you can't say it right.
This is a great signing
That
for
Jacksonville
them
accent.
from
Jaguars.
from an NFL perspective, but from fantasy, it makes people sad for both Chris Ivory and TJ Yeldon. Me more so than you, Andy.
All right, let's talk about Travis Benjamin. Well, he's not a Brown anymore. It seems certain that he would remain there because he's, young, talented. They have the money. He delivered for them last year. He should be rewarded. He's in Cleveland.
That's logical, Andy. That is you're spitting too much fact and logic for
poor Hugh Jackson.
Poor Browns fans.
Yeah,
they've had to deal with it longer than
we
you.
come from that tradition. We know.
Yeah, is the lonely Cardinal fan. We know what it's like. We like when lower level, the downtrodden, they finally start succeeding. So I really want to, as the rest of you guys do, we want to see the Browns elevate. And
Give me that Browns Jacksonville AFC title game.
Yeah.
It's coming.
America would be probably very sad, but
I mean, if Trump's going to be president, we can get the Browns in Jacksonville.
Anything can happen.
So it's Travis Benjamin is gone. He has moved over to San Diego, and I've already professed my love and affinity for Phillip Rivers this year, and this has only gone to
well, you don't call him Phillip Rivers.
No, I think we got something that we
you call him Old Man Rivers.
Old Man River.
Everybody.
Old Man Rivers.
He is going to be a tremendous value in the draft.
That won't leave your head, just so you know.
And the biggest question I've gotten on Twitter regarding Benjamin was, does this hurt Keenan Allen at all? Nope. I think it only helps the Chargers as a whole. You charge you charge up that offense. You get another capable guy.
That's why he's the music guy.
With Keenan Allen, I think it's fantastic for Rivers, for Allen, for Benjamin. I like everything about this signing for San Diego.
Okay, so
he's Malcolm Floyd plus.
Yes.
That's what he is. So I'm not worried about the Keenan Allen impact. It just means that if Allen gets hurt or somebody gets banged up, you have a little bit more to work with. So go ahead.
I just wanted to know.
And Gates is back.
So that we can have logical consistency here. If this helps Keenan Allen by having someone good across the field with him, does it hurt Josh Gordon?
Maybe.
Or does it? Or because
so logical though.
The temptation is to say, "Oh, this helps Josh Gordon.
No,
now he's the only guy.
No.
Oh, this helps Keenan Allen. He's got someone across the
field."
field."
The difference is that Josh Gordon has been in that boat before,
right?
And he's produced at a number one wide receiver in fantasy football level, and so there are still plenty of free agent wide receivers. I'm sure they will spend a little bit of money on one, in the Brian Hartline category. And they'll bring somebody in and compliment Gordon.
My philosophy on this type of thing is generally when the entire offense gets better, the ocean goes up, all the ships go up. Your chance to score increases because your offense has more power. So
look at Randall Cobb. You lost Jordy Nelson. He didn't make Randall Cobb a superstar.
There's not a lot of guys who are elite enough to carry the entire offense by themselves. Not everybody's Julio Jones.
No, and so let's bring it to the next point here. Well, hold on. I'm going to stay on Benjamin for a second, but don't lose that thought process when we get to Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. So Travis Benjamin, how are you projecting Benjamin himself? We talk about Keenan Allen. Benjamin was a valuable fantasy player during stretches last year.
Right.
During stretches.
I think his numbers go down. He was almost a 1,000-yard receiver. I see him more in that middle 800-yard range now, maybe the 60
50 catches, 60 catches.
I have him in the 60 catches.
Some deep balls.
I think you said it perfect. He's Malcolm Floyd plus.
Sure.
But Malcolm Floyd plus a little is probably not that great for your fantasy team. Better options out there.
Good for Rivers.
Yes.
Fine
great.
for Allen. Good for the offense.
I love it.
And Wisenhunt's back, right?
He is.
So that offense has shown it can perform under Ken Wisenhunt. All right. So a guy that has shown he can do it a little bit without Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, is still sitting there in Detroit. They bring in Marvin Jones to rescue the fans from the depression of losing Calvin Johnson. But how good is Marvin Jones?
Oh, it's a wash. He's the same as Calvin, right? He's just going to be the same.
Wouldn't someone argue that he kind of is if Calvin's old, busted?
Oh, they would be arguing ridiculously.
Foolishly?
They would be so stupid. I think you've got a situation here where you have two of the better wide receiver twos in the league playing on the same team, pretending to be both 1A and 1B. So what you're going to see as the year goes on is, so like last year, right? You had Eric Decker and Allen Hurns, who were in that valuable wide receiver 2 role that always got the weaker coverage. I think this year it's going to be back and forth between these guys as the year goes on, depending on who they're playing and what their matchups are. I don't think both of these guys are going to have good fantasy years this year. There's enough work to go around, but I don't see either one of these guys being head and shoulders above the other to where, oh, you got to draft this guy first. So I would take whichever one is second when it comes to fantasy draft day, because we don't know who's more valuable.
That's pretty much how I look at the Lockett-Baldwin situation.
Not I, but
I know you don't. I've got a hot take on this. Signing.
On Detroit?
Yes. The beneficiary of Calvin Johnson leaving is neither of those guys. It is Eric Ebron.
Ooh.
Eric Ebron is the guy to own at tight end there.
Okay.
He has top 10 potential. Calvin, even though he wasn't putting up prolific super numbers anymore, was a red zone monstrosity. Now you bring Ebron, all the talk about Ebron in Detroit, his production during stretches of the season, they want him to be productive. I just think you mix in more goal line activity for Eric Ebron with the loss of Calvin Johnson. Now, Marvin Jones is a goal line guy.
Pretty good.
I agree with you. But he's not. Calvin Johnson is the best ever, maybe. 3 touchdowns, I think, a couple times last year. He runs the fade over and over again. I just think Eric Ebron is somebody that should not be forgotten. We have a lot of tight ends coming out of the signings today and some guys with opportunities. I just think Ebron should not be lost in the shuffle. I really believe in Eric Ebron. Just saying.
Yeah,
putting it out there.
Look,
your look is kind of a fatigued.
Fatigued of Eric Ebron, because Ebron to me has been a guy with all the potential in the world.
He's so young. He's just barely had an opportunity.
My biggest problem with him.
Guess how old Eric Ebron is? I know we don't have the drop. We'll get it.
Guess
I want you to guess Eric Ebron's age.
24.
Mike?
If we're going to be shocked, I'm going to go 23.
He's 22.
Wow.
He's 22 years old.
I'm shocked.
And don't forget, this is
shocking.
not, you can't be fatigued of a 22-year-old who's played 2 years. He doubled his receptions from year 1 to year 2.
Well, when you have like 4 catches.
No, he went from 25 to 47. He had 530 yards last year and 5 touchdowns. Look, he is a third-year tight end candidate. I'm telling you right now.
I will say
fair.
this.
It's fair.
I will say this. The reason I'm sour on Ebron is because he drops a lot of really easy catches. You know, those where it's just really frustrating. And
He's still growing hands. He's 22.
But the point is
like
well taken.
Deadpool.
You look at the best receivers in the league, and they often lead the league in drops as well. Your Demaryius Thomas and your Julio Jones. So
I'm just saying, 6'4", 245, 22, athletic.
It's definitely.
I'm going to talk you into it, guys.
Yeah, I think you have talked me towards
do
it.
I have to
Young
do?
Man River. All right. Let's talk about Doug Martin. He probably should have been higher on our list here, but he didn't sign with a new team,
Right.
so we knock him down a little bit.
Not as sexy. What? You're just returning? We already know what he probably drops in the draft because he stayed at the team, which is ridiculous because
Well, that's the big question.
What we've seen looking backwards is that normally players who re-sign and stay on the same team and stay in the same system
Better.
are better than those that
How about
change
DeMarco?
teams.
DeMarco would have been
Exactly.
great last year if he was
Oh,
at Dallas.
Man. Oh.
So the only question here for me with Doug Martin, his value should go up. His
Well, not up, right?
Well, I'm just saying his
It should
production
stay.
should stay the same, and his value should go up from where he was valued last year tremendously because he was
In
late
draft.
he was a late round draft guy. Now he was a top running back option this last year, so he should be drafted that way. And I'm not sure how high would you take Lamar Miller or Doug Martin?
Doug Martin, without question.
Yeah, I would as
Doug
well.
Martin is he might creep into my top 5.
Woo.
I don't blame you on that, but I see
We've
him
seen
as
that
potential.
before.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
so was it a contract
That's
year
fine.
thing? Was that why he
5-year, $35 million contract. He is going to get the ball. He's in an established offense which he dominated in. He's going to be in my top 10 for sure and probably climbing higher. I love everything about him. Age, opportunity, ascending offense, ascending quarterback talent, Great wide receiver core.
Looks like a hamster.
And those guys always rise to the top of my list.
You love hamsters.
I love anybody who looks like a pet. I mean, that's really what it is.
I agree that I like that. I like that he's back with the Bucs. I think they're an ascending team, an ascending offense. We've been over it. The receivers are there. He's got a great backup in Charles Sims who can spell him from time to time, and we know that the team won't fall apart. So I really like it for Martin. I agree with Andy. He's a top 10 for me. I don't think I'm going to go as high as a top 5 type of guy, but top 10 for sure.
Okay, and what does this mean for Charles Sims? I mean, he had 100 catches. I'm sorry, 100. He had 100 carries last year and 50 receptions. That's great.
Yeah, he'll be a tremendous, very, very high-end backup / handcuff. He's a handcuff that has standalone value, which is something you like. So it's
Charles Sims or Gio Bernard?
Charles Sims.
Gio, I think it'd be Gio for me.
Gio has a chance to at least run a couple in.
Yeah, which that's a completely different story of I still believe in Jeremy Hill. I can't quit you.
No, you can't. You just plain can't. All right, Mike wanted it. He wanted the chaos.
Yeah.
And the Brock Ness monster has signed.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
With Houston.
I like that a lot.
Brock Osweiler.
I really hope that was off the top of your head.
It was off the top of my head. I wasn't confident. All right, formerly of the Broncos, now a Houston Texan, and he got signed. He was paid over $10 billion to go and sign with the Houston Texans.
Here's the deal with Brock Osweiler for those who are like, what? What did he do? Okay, Brock Osweiler has been sitting behind Peyton Manning for years. He finally gets a chance, and in my opinion, was not bad. I thought he looked good and adequate at the worst, at the least to me. You moving forward throughout the year. You feel like the coach Coobs has endorsed you. We're going to move forward with you. Then you get benched for Peyton Manning. How's that going to feel for that ego of an NFL quarterback? You move into the offseason. They're not offering him anything. They're saying, we're going to wait on Peyton Manning and see what he has to do. We're going to wait. Then finally Manning retires, and they go, oh, crap, we better throw Brock a contract.
Offered him over $16 million.
And so the Texans come in. They say, we love you, Brock. We love you. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to show you even a little bit more money than the Broncos are doing. Why don't you come on down to Houston? Absolutely. That is the move that I would have made. I would have said, suck it, Coobs. You benched me. The old Bill O'Brien, who's a quarterback guru down there in Houston, I'm going to go play for him.
Yeah, I don't think Brock is that good, but I will say this. What an exciting young tandem now. If you're a Houston Texans fan and you've got a 24-year-old.
If it pays off.
I'm saying Lamar Miller, Brock Osweiler, and DeAndre Hopkins are so young, and you've got them locked up now in long-term contracts.
And a great defense.
Things are looking well.
Projecting forward, you look at that team and you have to say, well, if Denver's going the opposite direction, which I don't necessarily think they are, they're a great.
Their free agents are going the opposite
direction.
direction.
That's the problem. They're losing a lot of guys. They might lose C.J. Anderson. You don't have Peyton, Brock. You lose some offensive line.
Half the defense
Your defense,
is gone.
Trevathan's gone. But you project forward, you go to another team that can help. I will say this. We talked about it. I don't think Brock Osweiler is very good. I'm an ASU guy. I liked him out here, but I didn't project him as an NFL star. I projected him as an NFL backup. And, this is where you can succeed in the NFL. If you need to do very little, be accurate, don't pass as much as a prolific type of guy, and not be Brian Hoyer, which is very easy to do,
and
then you're fine.
Brian Hoyer, for as much as people hate him, had great moments last year. Where especially for fantasy, he was a very capable
I could have
streamer.
great moments with DeAndre Hopkins. I'll tell you right now, and that's a point to Brock. So, in ridiculous, stupid news, Matt Flynn decided to come out, and this was the time Matt Flynn's going to make a comment about somebody when a quarterback gets paid too much money.
Yeah, it was funny because he came out on Twitter. He said, I know I'm going to get killed for this, but this quarterback money is out of control.
I know. I just think it's
That's-
hilarious because Matt Flynn has the best job in history, getting overpaid to not get concussed.
Dude,
it's just great.
Matt Flynn might be my favorite player in the history of the NFL, just from the
Max
amount.
Hall, but then
Well, he has signed more contracts than anyone I've ever heard of. He signs with 4 teams a year, and I just hope that he signs with another team this year or several.
he's made
somehow,
$19 million so far in his career.
for doing nothing. He played in one game.
No, he had 6 touchdowns for the Green Bay Packers
Yes,
in Week
exactly.
16.
It made him a lot of cash.
Well, look, it's funny, but it's kind of what happened to Brock. He came in, very limited work, had a winning record more than he had prolific stats. He was accurate, over 60% passing. But he got paid because this is the NFL. Chase Daniel just made a bunch of money.
Yeah, and you do things in prime time for everyone to watch, like Brock did against the Patriots. Brock was a very large reason why they won that game. He was great in that game.
He was.
So you do things in prime time, and we've seen you do things in the playoffs when all eyes are on you, you get paid.
So now you've got Matt Forte coming to New York, replacing Chris Ivory. Ivory leaves for over $6 million a year. The Jets managed to sign Forte for a 3-year deal worth $12 million, with only $8 million guaranteed. And upgrade?
I love it.
yeah. I think
Potential upgrade?
a potential upgrade, because you saw when Bilal Powell was out in the beginning, you saw that Chris Ivory, when he was able to be used as the dual threat option and be used in both the passing game and the running game, he was extremely valuable for fantasy. And I think he was extremely valuable for the Jets as well in real life. And so now you've got that dual threat guy. Bilal Powell will probably leave, if news hasn't broke that he's already left, leaving Matt Forte as a great fantasy option. I am surprised. I did not think Matt Forte was going to go anywhere and wow me from a fantasy perspective. This, to me, is a great place for him to land for fantasy football.
I agree with you. And the thing is we saw how much more successful Ryan Fitzpatrick was and that offense was when Bilal Powell was on the field to catch underneath passes as opposed to Chris Ivory. So if Forte can stay healthy and contribute, they're going to need another back there. It can't just be Forte. But I like the opportunity for him. Some other signings I want to touch on before we get in. I do want to get into the mailbag, and we're going to have plenty of time to talk free agents. So I'm going to just touch on these. If you want to talk about them, that's fine. I know Coby Fleener's in this list. Ben Watson signed with Baltimore.
Yeah.
He is now they're trying to assemble an all tight end offense. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
It was very interesting. Max Williams is there. They spent a high pick on him. I mean, he was disappointing, but really every tight end is disappointing their rookie year.
Betty Crockett.
Gilmore, which I believe I was reading there's a bunch of surgeries coming for him, so maybe they just are not confident that he will be back. Or back anywhere close to full strength. Dennis Pitta, the one hip quitter. We know he's probably done in the NFL. So I mean, you got to have 2 tight ends who can be on the field, and Ben Watson has Ben Watson, man, getting better with age.
It's
like a fine wine.
I agree with you. And listen, Ben Watson is the example of the veteran pinch hitter that they sign in the major leagues that comes in, and he's got very few at-bats during the year, but his clubhouse value is through the roof. And
Yes.
Ben Watson's a leader.
Love Ben Watson.
He fits in with that, with Harbaugh there. So
I don't think he's a good fantasy option, and there's
No.
16 good fantasy options at tight end, but love Ben Watson, the man.
I will say this. I agree for the most part that he's probably not a good fantasy option, but it could happen. He's in that system with Trestman, who loves the tight end. Joe Flacco loves himself the tight end. If Watson is going to turn into that guy of the
You're right.
pass catcher, he could have value.
you can't just throw him out because of the age, because you did it last year. You would have done that before the season, and you've been wrong.
Speaking
he
of
came
thrown
in,
out.
I was going to say,
Oh.
yeah, go ahead. All right, so Owen Daniels thrown out of Denver. His career is probably done.
Yep, you've had your time.
He
Owen
had
Daniels.
his time. Let's talk about 3 tight ends that could have great fantasy relevance next year,
Yes.
thanks to how the fantasy football free agency cookie crumbled.
Yeah.
All right. So the Colts re-signed Dwayne Allen. They chose Allen. He's a more kind of altogether, when he's healthy, he's a more complete tight end. So he has been promised a better offensive role under Chudzinski.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Coby Fleener signed by the Saints, and the Steelers signed Ladarius Green. So
Very nice.
fantasy bonanza. Jason.
All three guys. Well, I want to know how each of us rank these three from fantasy and where we expect them to finish. All three were great signings, great for the player, great for the team, both for fantasy and for reality. From a fantasy football only perspective,
Okay.
who are you drafting? I would rank
Of
them-
those three?
Of those three guys, what would you rank
You
them?
don't say yours yet because you know.
Okay.
them. So I want to. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know yours, so I want to
Okay.
think through it. If I were signing these guys, I would go Fleener, Allen, Green.
I completely agree.
Wow, that's mine too.
Yep.
Wow.
And
I'm surprised.
I will say Ladarius Green for the real life Steelers.
Oh,
man.
so good.
That is a massive upgrade. Ladarius Green is a monster of a man. He is a tremendous blocker. On top of that, he is an elite level athlete. If we finally get a chance to see what he can do, maybe that falls apart and he's not really involved in the passing game. I believe he will be. Heath Miller would get involved from time to time. So I love Ladarius Green, and it just makes that offense as a whole better.
You know what
Like,
I was thinking? I was thinking Pittsburgh's offense needed to get better, and they needed another weapon and be a little bit harder to defend. That's good job, Pittsburgh.
And then the Eagles have agreed to terms with Chase Daniel, but they paid him big money.
Interesting.
And so
Fighting for that starting position.
could
which
he do
is-
it? He was with Peterson in KC.
They gave him that tweener type money where you're not a backup, just a backup. You're going to come in, you're going to fight for the starting position. There is a lot of incentive, extra money tied into his contract. So we don't even know who the quarterback for the Eagles is going to be right now.
And the Panthers have re-signed Mike Tolbert to a 2-year deal, so he
Yeah.
can keep.
Yeah! All right, move on.
All right, let's get into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Yeah.
All right, we want to answer listener questions because that's why we do this show, to help you with your fantasy team all year round. Go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button, or like this next listener, you can call the voicemail hotline and leave us a question, 302-464-TFFB. So let's go ahead and answer a voicemail question right now.
Hey guys, Garrett here from Oklahoma City. I won my league thanks to you guys, so I really appreciate all the help I get from the show. Great show. I've got a question here. Keeper league, 10-man, standard. We've got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex that can be wide receiver, running back, tight end. I'm looking at a keeper. I've either got Amari Cooper in the 6th or Devonta Freeman in the 8th. Please help me out with this one. It's up in the air for me, so any advice you can give me would be great. Thanks, guys. Keep rocking. Bye.
This is
That's-
an easy call to me.
I was going to say, it's a tough call for me.
That's very tough for me.
All right, well, then I'll make my argument.
All right.
I think you have to go Devonta Freeman here. Look, I understand that Devonta Freeman can regress. I probably won't end up with Devonta Freeman in my league because, like Mike articulated a few weeks ago, he's fine missing out on him because of the draft value. If you got to grab him in the 1st or the 2nd at best, you can get him in the 2nd, and I'm not willing to do that. But in the 8th, there's no way in the world I'm passing up last year's number 1 running back for an 8th round value to keep Amari Cooper. That would be my take.
Yeah, it's and not only can Freeman regress, he started to halfway through the year. His numbers went way down compared to what he did in the middle stretch of the year. And Amari Cooper, man, I believe so much that a Cooper is going to become an elite level wide receiver, especially for fantasy purposes. But I like your logic, Jason. I mean, the 8th round pick for a guy who could be a top RB1. I'm going to take the chance.
All right, Peter. Let me give my take though,
Okay.
because I always forget to do that. I forget to do that. I would go with Devonta Freeman, and the kind of push over the edge there is the Alex Mack.
I was going to bring that up, yeah.
So, all right, Peter in Worcester, Massachusetts. My long-term 2-player keeper league just transitioned last year into a full-team dynasty league.
Ooh.
Last year, we redid the entire draft, and this year we get to keep 4 players, next year 4 additional, and so on. I need to keep 4 of the following. Eddie Lacy for a first, Lev Bell for a first, Aaron Rodgers for a 2, Gurley for a 6, Olsen for a 7, who is that? Allen Robinson for ADP or Rawls based on ADP.
So that means both of those guys will be either a 1 or a 2.
Right. No penalty for having 2 in the same round.
It
just
pushes it back.
So we got to
assume so, yeah.
keep 4 of those guys. Those are some good guys. But so this is going to be a dynasty. So we got to keep in mind it's not just your average keeper. So length, to me, Todd Gurley is
he's locked and loaded.
He's locked. Yes.
Locked. So
That's
he really
1.
needs 3 out of the rest.
Allen Robinson is locked for me.
Yeah, with his age, he is.
Age and dynasty format. I understand his ADP is going to be high. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I agree. You got to take the best guys here. If you've got guys like that, which Le'Veon Bell is a guy like that.
I was going to say Bell, Gurley, Robinson, and Rawls.
I would go
my picks.
Bell,
Rawls, really?
I would go Bell, Gurley, Robinson, and Aaron Rodgers. If this is going to be a dynasty, Aaron Rodgers has another,
He does say
6,
he likes
7.
to trade, and Rodgers will let you trade.
Rodgers will definitely let you
that's
trade
fair.
and has long-term value in a dynasty.
But you're basically choosing Rodgers over Lacy then.
Yes.
Because they're the same pick in this situation.
Well, yeah.
If you take Bell. So they're the same exchange.
My third would be Le'Veon Bell, and my fourth, if I don't like to take guys as trade bait. So you have to know your league. You have to know. I would maybe talk to some guys before you lock it in. Say, hey, I'm going to keep Rodgers. Are you interested? Get a deal worked out before the lock has to go in. So if you think you can get something of great value for Rodgers, I would do that. Otherwise, I would
keep Rodgers to keep him. See, then if I could trade him,
I wouldn't.
All right, so just give me your 4. Your 4 are?
My 4 are Le'Veon Bell, Aaron Rodgers, Todd Gurley, and Allen Robinson.
Okay. Bell, Gurley, Robinson, and Lacy.
All right, let's go to John in Connecticut. He says, what do you think about my keeper format where a guy cannot be kept more than 1 year in a row and you lose the ADP plus 2 rounds at the time of the draft in August? Using this format, would you choose Keenan Allen, Edelman, Ingram, or AJ Green?
I'm fine with leagues that say you can't keep a guy more than 1 year in a row. That's all right. I think it's kind of an unnecessary rule if you're an active league. So I would prefer to not have that. As far as who I would keep, I'm going to keep Ingram. How many guys?
1.
Then Ingram.
I guess. Oh, was that not clarified? I thought I heard it was only keep 1.
It's a full PPR league.
Full PPR, ADP plus 2. Might be Keenan Allen for me. Oh, Ingram. No.
I'd go Ingram. I'd go Ingram, Green, Allen, Edelman.
I would go Ingram, Allen, Green.
All right, Halliday in Tennessee. I'm in a keeper league with the keeper deadline coming up at the end of March. My options are Bell for a first, Gronk for a second, Green for a fourth. Who should I keep and why? P.S. Keep up the good work. Half-point PPR. Jason, what do you think?
Keeper's coming up soon. I'm going to take Gronk in the second.
Really?
Because, yeah, Gronk is a true, absolute game changer. You don't have to give up your first. You can never get Gronk in the second. I like him.
Did you see the name of this next question?
I do, but I didn't get to answer the previous question.
Yeah, I know, because I asked Jason for his answer.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
AJ Green in the 4th.
All right.
And the reason why is because AJ Green can be a top 5 wide receiver. He's a top 10 at worst to me to get that guy in the 4th round and then still clean up with other great guys in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Give me Green.
This one comes in from Brock Ness Monster.
Maybe that's where you got it. No,
I didn't put
Jason
these
did
in.
the doc.
I didn't put these in.
Well, Brock Ness Monster in Phoenix, Arizona.
What? He's here. Is this you, Andy? Andy, did you write
I
in?
need some help, guys. Our league allows 4 keepers at the value of their draft rounds, keeping Antonio for a first and Jordy for a 14th. I need help choosing 2 running backs between these. Lamar for a 3rd, Ingram for a 5th, Freeman for a 10th.
Ingram and Freeman.
Ingram and Freeman.
It's Ingram and
Yeah,
Freeman.
I agree. Ingram and Freeman.
Ingram and Miller are close together as of right now, like we were talking about at the top of the show. 2-round difference. Give me Ingram.
Chris in Derby, there are not many top tight ends this year. Well, maybe there are now.
Yeah, that changed.
If I miss out on one of the top guys, Gronk, Olsen, Walker, Reed, Barnage, or Kelsey, I don't like Eifert because he relies on too many touchdowns. Who would be a good option to draft in a late round?
Whew, you just got a few more.
Yeah, my guys.
Dwayne Allen, Coby Fleener, Ladarius Green, Eric Ebron.
There you go. Question answered.
I'm going to compound onto this question because we are big fans of Rule 86 Jordan Reed here. Andy has stated he would take him as high as the 3rd. Now with so many extra options available, do you still take Reed that high?
Yep.
Okay.
But good question. None of those options come with guarantees. None of those options come with, I feel like there are flyers before or after the free agent signing that would have, you could talk them into the late round tight end. I don't blame Jason for doing that, going late. I still like Jordan Reed a lot.
My number one option this year is probably going to be Greg Olsen in the 4th, if I can grab him in the 4th, and after that, Fleener late.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm a Jordan Reed in the 4th range now, which I think that's right about where he will go, and so I have been willing to pay that market price for him, but now with Dwayne Allen is a guy who I've loved through the years. I think I've seen massive potential there. The time split and the injuries have kept him from being a top tight end option. But Coby's gone. So with him, Coby Fleener in New Orleans, it's swaying me now that maybe I don't want to pay that capital for Jordan Reed.
That's very fair. And I think as the rest of the free agent chips fall, we'll know a little bit more about how the tight ends will shake out. So we are going to wrap up the show now. If we didn't get to your question, we are pushing those questions to the next show, so we're going to answer those as well there with tons of new free agent news that has probably been breaking while you've been listening to this.
Yeah.
So
we also have a lot more free agent talk and more questions going to be answered today over on jointhefoot.com. We do an extra hour episode over there with our Foot Clan, with our official Foot Clan listeners. So don't worry, there's plenty more free agent talk coming this week.
Yes, there is. So thank you very much for listening. Check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers, and we will catch you next week.
Yeah, make sure you jump on that Snapchat.
And don't forget to show up to the show on YouTube as well.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
We're coming right now.
Alrighty.
I've got a good topic for
The
the
Brock
show.
Ness Monster. That was off the top of my head, I promise.
Liar.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.